Hi, hope you are doing well. Today, I'm going to talk about how to write a scientific lab report or what we need to put in a scientific lab report. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so this is the lab manual. Okay, here I put a section about guideline on writing a lab report. Okay, so I already discussed all what I want in a lab report, but yeah, let me briefly discuss here also. Okay. All right. So name of the experiment, you need to write the name of the experiment, date. So there should be two dates. One is for the experiment date and another is the submission date. Your name, and if you perform the experiment together, you should put also your partner's name. And the partners, when they write their lab report, they should put your name also in their lab report. Okay. So it is courtesy if you do lab, if you perform a lab together, it is a courtesy to put all people's names who contributed to the experiment. Okay. Then the purpose or objective of the experiment. Okay, so in the lab manual for each lab, I put some objective. So do not just copy word by word, read those objectives and use your own word to write about the objective or the purpose of the experiment. Okay, you should also put theory. Okay, so in each lab, I already wrote about the theoretical background. So for example, if you go lab 3, for example, so I talk about the theoretical background here. So read it, okay, and summarize it, okay. You can copy few things from here, but I do not like if you just copy and paste the whole thing, okay. You can copy the idea, but not the line by line words. Okay, so please read it and then use your own word, write the theory. Okay. All right, the next thing is the experimental technique or the method. Okay, next thing is the apparatus. So you should also write down the apparatus or the materials you used. So you can copy line by line for this one because there is no other way to do that. Okay, experimental technique. So after you have performed the experiment, you know what you have done, right? So in your own words, write what you have done, right? How you perform the experiment. Okay, so that is the experimental technique. Okay, it is not the procedure and analysis. Okay, so for example, the second lab is on the simple harmonic oscillation. So experimental technique is not the procedure and analysis. Experimental technique is how you perform the experiment, what you have done in the experiment. Okay, so that is the experimental technique. Okay, so use your own word and write about the experimental technique. Okay, and then data table graph. Okay, analysis of the data table, and the answer of the listed question in a procedure and analysis section. Okay, so after the experimental technique, I would use a section named procedure and analysis. Okay, and in procedure and analysis, I will put the tables, graphs, and the question asked here. Okay, for example, in this lab 2, if you follow this instruction, you will see that Okay. So calculate the frequency. Okay, so you can calculate the frequency. So you probably measure the time period using the science interface, science workshop interface, and then you have to calculate the frequency f by using this equation. So here, so write a section named procedure and analysis and give a number 10, okay? And then show that how you calculate the frequency. So this is very simple, simple calculation, but some of the calculation are not that simple. But the idea is you have to put the calculation here, putting a number 10, so that I know that you follow the instruction and calculate the frequency. Okay, so show your frequency calculation here. Okay. So you see that you have to calculate frequency 3 different times, I think, okay? But you don't need to show all those calculations here. One calculation should be fine. So put in number 10 and say that I calculate the frequency for this one, for the first column, first row, okay? And show the calculation, okay? And then, yeah, of course, you have to put this table in your lab report. Okay. Then here in number 12, it says that how close are the fitted values to the measured values. So you have to comment here. Okay. So if there is a question, you have to comment, putting, so you should put number 12 and then answer this. Okay. And then save the graph here. Okay, so when it says that save the graph with a fitted line and attached to it, so please save the graph in at this position. Okay, instead of pasting the graph in a random place, I prefer the graph somewhere here. Also, also the table should be somewhere here, not in some random place. Okay. So there is another question here. So put the number 14 and answer this question. Okay. So for example, here there is question about calculate 2 pi AF using the fitted values of the, so show the calculation here. Okay. And then, so there is another calculation here. So put a number 16 and calculate it. So first you have to solve this and then calculate it. Okay. All right. And then you see at the end of each lab manual, you have some, excuse me, some extra question. So you should also answer this extra question. Okay. And then, yeah, of course, you have to write down about the discussion and conclusion. So in discussion and conclusion, you have to discuss about your result and how close your measurement with the standard value, what are the difficulties, or how to improve the experiment. So this kind of thing you have to discuss in the discussion and conclusion section. Okay, so some of the things you already discussed somewhere here in procedure and analysis, even though you have to do it again in the conclusion and discussion section. Okay. So if there are any other calculation, you have to also add those. Okay. All right. Yeah, one thing I want to mention also. Yeah. So when you plot a graph, okay, so you should properly label the graph. Okay, properly labeling means you have to have a y-axis level, you have to have a x-axis level, and their units. Okay, the units means the quantity you use in the x-axis and y-axis. So name them and then put also the their SI unit or the unit you used to create the graph in a parenthesis. Okay. Also put a nice title on the graph. Okay, that way the reader knows what you have done in the graph. Okay. All right. So now one more thing I want to show you is how to type an equation in your document. Okay. So some of you type the text, and then for equation and the table you take a picture, okay, and then paste it, and it looks not so good. Okay, so we can do everything in Google Documents or the Microsoft Word. Okay, so here I'm going to show how to write a equation in Google Document, or how to create a table in the Google Document. Okay, so let me show that. Okay, all right. So to do that, I have to go to Google Document. Okay, so let me choose a blank Google document. Okay, so it is something like this. Okay, now if you want to write an equation, you should go. Okay, so let me write an equation. Okay, so I want to write, let's say I want to write an equation somewhere here. Okay, so to write an equation, you should go here, insert, and then you see that if you scroll down, you get equation. Okay, so here this small box is to write an equation. Okay, now when you have box here, you see something new here, so you can use those things in your equation. Okay, so you see there's some symbols, the Greek symbols, and then some mathematical symbols, more mathematical symbols, and more mathematical symbols, and so on. Okay, so we have to use this kind of thing here to write an equation. Okay, so let me write an equation, write a kinematic equation, that is y. Okay, so let me kinematic equation y equal to y0. Okay, so how to write y0? So subscript y0, to write a subscript y0, you need to go there. Okay. Okay, subscript, to write subscript, you have to shift underscore and then 0. Okay, so that's how we get the subscript 0, and then plus v shift underscore 0 v0 t. Okay, plus then half, to write half, we have to use this one, so a over b. Okay, so 1 2 a t. So for square, we have to use shift and then 6. Okay, so that's why you can write an equation. So you see that it nicely we can nicely write the kinematic equation, a complicated kinematic equation. Okay, so let me write another equation. Okay. So another equation, let's see. Okay, so I want to insert an equation, so I have to click insert and then go to equation. Okay, so you see the small box and then the new things here. Okay, so I want to write v underscore max, I mean v subscript max. So to write max, I have to put shift underscore and then max max and then equal. I want to write a square root. So I need a square root here. So you see that square root is somewhere here. So I have to click here, choose this square root, and then I need also this one. So I want to write here k over m. So okay, so this is the maximum velocity of a spring mass system in a simple harmonic oscillation. Okay, so you see that how we can write an equation. Okay, so yeah, initially you may need some practice, but once you are used to, then yeah, it's too easy. Okay, so please use Google document or Microsoft Word. It's basically very similar, but because Google document is free, I show you this in Google document. Okay, the next thing is how to generate a table. Okay, so to generate a table, again, you click on insert, and then you see that there is a table. And then here you have option to choose how many column or how many row you want. Okay, so for example, if you need just 3 by 2, you just choose 3 by 2. If you need more, you can just do this. Okay, and create a table. Okay, so you see that it's so easy. Okay, and then if you want to put a symbol, you can, a Greek symbol, you can choose from symbol here, special character, or you can write an equation here, or you can write, for example, mass, force. Okay, so always use this unit with a quantity. Okay, force is Newton, right? Or you can also put the symbol, right? You can also use the equation. For example, I want to write V max or A over square root of K by M here. So I can either copy this thing and paste here, or I can write another equation here by inserting equation here. Okay, so I want to write this, and then K by M. Okay, and let's say the unit for this one is meter per second. Okay, so you see that it's not too difficult to create a table in your Google document. All right, so that's it about how to write or what to include in your scientific lab report. Okay, so let me know if you have any question.